Guys, it's Christine. Trying to get comfortable. It is so just gloomy and cold here today. I found every time I have filmed lately, because I kind of like batch film my videos because I have 3 little kids and no time, and so I just do it once a week and I film all my videos for the next week. But every time I have filmed the last couple of weeks, it has been raining and miserable. And like yesterday was nice, the day before was nice, but no, today's miserable. So I hope the lighting's okay and that it's not too terrible. But I do have my heater going because it's freezing and miserable, like I said. So if you hear like weird noise, that's probably what it is. Today I want to talk to you about self-care, and this is a topic I'm fairly passionate about and have been for a while, because I think there is such an incorrect depiction of what true self-care is. And so I kind of want to like write it and say, no, like that's not really, it's a part of self-care, but it actually isn't true self-care. I want to talk to mums specifically because I think this whole thing of like you have to take care of yourself first, and it puts undue pressure on you, and you'll understand why the more I get into it. So if you are new here, I'd love it if you would subscribe to my channel if you're watching this on YouTube. I have 3 children. The eldest is 4. The youngest is currently 9 months. It's very busy. I work from home running 2 blogs. I love it. Love it. And yeah, I love to inspire other mamas to feel empowered in their motherhood journey and to find joy in it, and not to just be going through the motions, because there are definitely times when you do that, but I don't want that to be all the time for mums. That's not nice. That's not how you want to live it. And so that's what I hope I help with. That's my intention anyway. So that's a little bit about me, but let's get stuck into this. So self-care is something that is often shown as like a bubble bath, or going to get your nails manicured, or getting your hair cut on a regular basis, which I'm getting mine done in like 3 weeks and I'm so excited. I'm gonna get cut and colored. Anyway, that's often the thing that people talk about when they talk about self-care. That's not self-care. It's a part of self-care. It's like a little component of it, but getting your hair cut, putting on makeup, painting your toenails, that is not going to sustain you and like look after you. Like that's just, I know it does make you feel better. I know it makes me feel better. That's why I'm excited to go get my hair done. But it won't keep me going for months on end. Like that's not going to stop me from burning out. And so that is what I want to talk about today, what the true meaning of self-care is and how we as mamas can sustain it without feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to look after myself, and then I have to look after the kids, and then I have to look after the husband and the house, and oh my gosh, I'm just freaking out because it is so much. So yeah, no. So really the first part of self-care is being mindful, or even aware, just self-aware, I guess is a good way of thinking about it. But just keeping track of where you are. How are you feeling? How are you coping? What is weighing on your mind? Are you as happy or as joyful as you feel you should be in the current situation you're in? Being mindful is really important, because that is how we know when to pull back, when to give a little bit more, where we need to maybe look after ourselves a little bit more. It's super, super important. And we get so busy with motherhood and life that oftentimes we aren't even thinking about how we're actually feeling. A good example of this is just recently I had been really struggling and just feeling very tearful every day, and that is so not like me. Like I cry like a proper cry, like maybe once or twice a year. And I have to be totally burnt out and just overtired and that kind of thing. I don't. And I had for a couple of weeks just been feeling really tearful and overwhelmed, and I couldn't figure out why. And I had just been busy, like working, being a mother, running the home, that kind of thing. I just didn't have time to stop and think. And then my husband said to me, like, what is it? Like, what's different? And I sat down and I thought, okay, well, my niece had a seizure out of the blue, which was really, it's scary, but it wasn't my own child, but it's still somebody I knew and love, and so it's close enough to home to have made an impact. And you just always worry for your kids. I don't know what other moms are like, but I do. And then we had a very close family friend diagnosed with cancer, which was incredibly difficult and still is incredibly difficult to deal with. And of course I felt sad about that, but I never actually stopped to grieve it. And then my own daughter, which this was very minor, but it was still an upset in the week, she cut her eye with her own fingernail, cut her cornea, and like her eye swelled up and she was just screaming and crying, and I had to call my husband home from work so I could take her to the emergency room and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it all worked itself out just fine, and she was fine after like a day. But those three things happened in quick succession, and I was just so busy just being a mom and just running around, and I didn't deal with it. I didn't like stop and think through it. And I actually even spoke to a friend about this the other day, and she was saying, like, it's like we schedule in these times to grieve because it's just never convenient. It's like you have to schedule, okay, I've got like 10 minutes, I can go to my room and cry and get this out. And like, as ridiculous as it sounds, do that. If you know there is something you're struggling with, then go to your room and deal with it and cry it out. I know that's not always the fix, and there's always going to be things like weighing on your shoulders, but sometimes that is a good fix, and it is a quick fix. And my mom says this to me all the time. She's like, Christine, you just need to cry. You just need to cry. Go cry. Like, it's not that easy. But stop, be mindful, and try and figure out what it is. Sometimes it's just hormones, and that's fine. Acknowledge that. Like, name it, because it's less scary then. But I mean, it's frustrating. I hate it when I'm like, oh, it's just hormones. It's out of my control. Can't do much about it. But yeah, think about you and how you're feeling. That's fine. It's okay to do that. It's important to do that. It is how you stay healthy for your kids. So, and healthy for you. That's important too. The next part of self-care, true self-care, is feeding your soul. And like, there's lots of different ways to do this, and it's going to be very personal to you and your core beliefs. For me, I'm a Christian, and so feeding my soul comes from God's word, and that is what I try to do on a daily basis, and it just lifts me up, and it gives me strength that I wouldn't otherwise have. So whatever it is that you believe in and you feel strongly about, and that feeds your soul and lifts you up, do it on a daily basis. It can't just be like willy-nilly here and there when you're running on empty. It needs to be constant so that you never get to that running on totally empty stage, You're going to be tired and you're going to get worn out, but this almost gives you like strength that you wouldn't have otherwise had. So use that. And it really does make a big difference. I like to have like quotes up and verses up around my house that I can refer to throughout the day. And every morning, my children and I go over memory verses that we're learning. And that was for them, but I actually find it really helpful for me as well. So maybe it's something as simple as that, something that you're teaching your children, but you can take from at the same time. The fourth thing is to care for your body. So we've talked about caring for your soul, and I just want to go back to that for a second and say that caring for your body is useless without caring for your soul, and vice versa. Like, you have to do both, because if you're not caring for your body, then it impacts your mental health and it impacts your soul. And if you're not doing your soul and your mind, it's going to impact your body. It just does. It's like a relationship that is like this. You cannot separate the two. I have seen in life so many times now women who have had total just burnouts, either mental or physical, and it's one or the other. Like, they haven't been taking care of their mental health, and so their body crashes, or they haven't been taking care of their body, and so their mental health crashes. Or in my case, I was pregnant, I had incredibly low iron, I had a ton of pain, it was awful, and then I ended up with prenatal depression. So that wasn't necessarily something that was in my control, but it's just to say to you that they work like this. Like, you cannot separate the two. And so take care of your body. Whatever it is that you need to do to take care of your body, whether that's healthy eating, making sure that your iron levels are high enough, because that's a big thing for me. My depression for me is triggered by low iron. I don't know why, it just is for me. Every time I have struggled with depression, I have had very low iron, and so making sure that I am taking my iron supplements makes a big difference for me. And then obviously, please feed yourself. Like, eat food, like real food, not your kids' leftovers, which I've never done that before, but I know some moms do it. Like, eat wholesome food, because you need it, especially if you're breastfeeding. Like, if you're a mama that's breastfeeding, you really need it. But just in general, eat good food. And let's now talk about how to sustain it, because I think this is probably the key thing. If you can know about self-care and how to do it, but if you're not sustaining it, you're still going to burn out and you're going to be a mess. And so this is super important, learning how to sustain it. Because self-care, like I said, is not going to get your nails done once a week. And it's not going to go get your hair done every 6 weeks. That can be nice. But those kind of things don't keep you going from day to day. So here are 2 things. I want you to focus on the things that I've mentioned on a daily basis. So mindfulness, taking care of your soul, taking care of your body. Those 3 things, they're simple things. They don't have to be like super airy-fairy, special things. They're simple. They're really basic. Like, they're seriously like basic human needs. Where think about your baby and how you take care of your baby, and you're aware of what might be upsetting them, and you want to like make sure that they're getting their nutrition that they need and that they're taken care of physically. Think of yourself like your baby. You need to take care of yourself as well. So do that on a daily basis. And the other thing is to be intentional about it. It is your job to take care of yourself. It is your job to practice self-care. It's nobody else's responsibility but your own. And I know that can feel like a weight on your shoulders, but honestly, once you start making a habit of it, it's not such a big deal. And it is super healthy to set it up now so that your kids see an example of a healthy mom and what to do and what not to do, so that they can carry on that through out their lives, and then hopefully their children's lives, and it's like an ongoing happy habit that this goes to the generations. That's always my hope, but I know it's not always possible. So I just want to say that it is possible to not feel burnt out and miserable and at the end of your tether. We're definitely all going to be there at one point or another, but it doesn't have to be like that all the time. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and subscribe if you're new and you haven't, and hit the like button to let me know that you did enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.